Hi, I'm Marie. I'm one of your marker pop colorists. I have a mini tutorial for you today and I hope you enjoy it. Today I'll be using a pumpkin spice color combo for you. YR12, YR15, 16, 23, and I plan to sandwich the YR23 with an E35 for high intensity. I'm going to actually show you how I blend this combo since the video is about a color combo. So I'm showing you how nicely this combo blends to give you that rich, spicy pumpkin color. It will work great for any of your autumn projects. Now we're just flicking out, getting a good blend. Flicking from the outer edge toward the lighter. Continuing to flick very lightly. It doesn't take a heavy touch. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my E35, not very much because this will be used sparingly. So you put your darkest shadow, YR23, then put your brown color, E35, and then your YR23 on top. You make a sandwich of that, and that will really allow your shadow to be very highly contrasted. Now I'm using this, my favorite Thane stamp set, Which Way is the Candy? But the pumpkin is very small, so I sketched one with a pencil, took my Copic multiliner and went over my pencil marks and then erased my pencil so I didn't ruin or discolor the tip of my Copics. And so that's how you would be able to kind of sketch your own and color them in, is by just putting your multiliner on top of your sketch and then erasing your pencil marks. And I'm only doing this because I want you to see a large image of the pumpkin as I color, because I really wanted to show you today how I do my high intensity with the E35. So I took kind of a light tone and I just blocked out where I wanted to put some shadows into this pumpkin, and then taking my mid-tone going over the top. But again, if you're really comfortable with your coloring, just move right on in and you can do this with your darkest color. I'm just mapping at this point to make sure that this is indeed where I want to have my shadows. Taking one of my darker mid-tones, going over the top of that, still liking what I'm seeing, just extending it up. Getting some good shape. You know, no pumpkin is, at least the ones I buy, are not even. So if you sketch something, it's kind of nice to have them a little bit off center. Most pumpkins are not perfectly round, at least none of them that I seem to buy. And then I wanted to put some autumn flowers in. Christina, actually, one of our members on our Marker Pop community, had requested that I use fall colors and show how I use a color combo for pumpkins. So this video is dedicated to you, and I hope you enjoy this and that this is exactly what you wanted. Now you may wonder why I am choosing to do high intensity colors. Some people are okay with trying to blend out 3 colors, and you'll get some really good shadows and highlights with that. Don't get me wrong, you will have a really well-colored image with that. But if you want higher intensity, you know, it's basically your contrast between the two that allows your images to be dimensional. Our images, when we get them, are very flat, non-dimensional, and really do not look realistic. But as we start putting our little creative touches on, putting our shadows where we'd like to have them, creating an image the way we would like to see it, it comes to life, and it takes on kind of a life of its own in a way. So I'm just again using those same techniques we've talked about so much, flicking from the outer edges of the darker color toward the highlight, but always reserving some of that so that we don't get too much of the dark side. We really want to have good contrast between dark and light. Extending now, flicking outward with my mid-tone, flicking outward from my darker color, but not too much, just a little bit more than the very darkest. Moving to a lighter shade, again flicking toward the highlight with the wrist, very light touch, it won't take much. You know, all pens are movers, not just your colorless splendor, but even your pens are movers of ink. And so basically you will be moving ink when you flick from the outer edge toward your highlight. You will be moving some of your darker color into the lighter area. So always be careful not to get too aggressive with that. Now we're again taking our dark shadow color, my YR23, and I'm getting more intensity in my shadow area and a darker mid-tone, flicking from the outer edge of that in. That is my YR16. And my 15. Just flicking, continuing to flick. See that shadow that we're getting in there now? It's taking more dimension, looking more rounded. And you want to make it so that, you know, most pumpkins, they're just not one big round. They have those kind of shadows in between and separating each kind of little piece of that pumpkin. So you'll want to kind of work each of those to where they have dimension. So not only the entire pumpkin has dimension, but each little section on that pumpkin has its own dimension, has its own shadow, and has its own highlight. Again, just working my shadows in. Now, you know, when you take a complement of a color and you mix the two together, you'll get a center, a color in the center of your color wheel, which is brown. So in this case, I just went ahead and used the brown to allow this to become really intensely dark, right where I want my cast shadows. Just a little bit, and you won't want a lot of this or it will really overwhelm your image. But see how just a little touch here and there, and then to top it off with one of your other darker ones flicking outward just to soften the edge a little bit, so it isn't just a straight line. You know, the edges of that shadow kind of blends. Now I'm going to start playing around with just some leaves, and you know, I'm using just a combination of a bunch of stuff, you know, fall colors, and there's so many ways to do leaves, but this is just a quick and fun and easy way. Take some of your favorite fall colors and just begin coloring, putting some shadows into the leaf where you would like to have it. Just flicking and laying down some colors, what you're doing. And I'm not using blending buddies, I'm just using fall colors, because what we are going to do is marbleize it with our colorless blender. Just color them with the colors that you would like to see on an autumn leaf. And a good thing to do is to Google it. Just Google autumn leaves and look at the different varieties. You'll find some have a lot of red in them. Some have brown and greens and yellow. Google them and pick some autumn leaves that you enjoy, that you like, and just begin coloring those. I didn't put as much orange in my autumn leaves as I normally do, because I really wanted it to look very different from the orange pumpkin. I thought it might not give you a really pleasing look to have the orange on orange. So I did put some of my yellow red in there, but I just didn't want to overwhelm it with too much. And we continued to color and to blend. And you'll notice that under the leaves I have my darker cast shadows, and I did use a little bit of my darker color with that, my E35, very sparingly. And I'm flicking out with some of my green. I love to start with my G40 and then move to the 4-3 and sometimes the G45. My favorite to add to it in the very shadow areas would be my YR63. You'll notice I just almost always end up pulling that out. Absolutely love it. Putting a little bit of a shadow there around my pumpkin and around the leaves, blending it out just a titch. And I'm making some kind of sprigs of grass around it. And how you do that is you lay down you just put your nib down and flick outward like you would normally do flicking, only a little bit larger of a flick to it. And you'll get a beautiful kind of a grass blade of grass or weeds or whatever, but there you have it. So I hope you give it a try. And now I'm going to actually use one of the stamped images and just do this little pumpkin and paper piece it and attach it to the witch from the same set. And again, this is Witch, WITCH, Way is the Candy, by My Favorite Things. And I thought this pumpkin initially was kind of small to be able to show you how I colored the pumpkin, but I'm basically using the same technique. But it's always kind of fun to create your own as well, so just try to sketch a few too. They're easy to do, and then make sure that when you go over it with your multiliner, that you erase the pencil before you start coloring. Again, we're using the same color combo as we did with the large pumpkin. And on my original card, I went ahead and took the witch from that collection, that set, colored it, and you'll see that in the finished card. You see, this is such a small, it's a smaller size pumpkin, so you have to be really careful when you're flicking outward that you don't take too much of your mid-tone into your highlight. You want to reserve that area for contrast. Still working on it. Flicking out a little bit with that mid-tone. Actually, it's my darker shadow color, but not my E35, but my darker shadow. And my very darkest. Going over the very dark creases of my pumpkin so I can get each of those little segments popping up a little bit more. Now we'll take my intensity, my E35, and use it sparingly just so that those segments will begin to pop. You can see that they're each one is dimensional. Then putting my very darkest shadow color on top, sandwiching that in. Otherwise, your brown, your E35 will just sit on top. Same technique as when we did it with a gray, a cool or a tone or a neutral gray. It will sit on top unless you sandwich it between your two dark, your shadow color. So make sure that you put your other shadow on top. Now see that dimension? So I hope you give this a try. Hope you try sketching a little, your own version, and create some fun and autumn things with this pumpkin spice color combo. Thank you for watching. And Christina, I do hope this is what you have requested and what you wanted to see. Thank you.